Today's video is sponsored by Moonlight Maps Kickstarter Atlas. There are so many things to love about D&D. The role-playing, the combat, the loot, interesting NPCs that sound like either a British noble or a scullery maid, and of course the painstaking hours of prep time it takes to create maps and encounters. I sure hope my party goes into the sewers. What's that? The forest? Are you sure you don't want to check out the sewers? Oh well. With Atlas, there's never a need for your players to wait while you draw the forest they want to explore, or to have your players roll through encounters that you had to make up on the fly. Choose a map from the book, draw an encounter card from the deck, and you're ready to immerse your players in your world. The book contains 100+ huge maps that are foldable, detachable, reversible, and dry erasable, as well as a deck of 80+ universal encounter cards, designed to be used in any setting, on any map, and at almost every level. And if you sign up in the first 48 hours and get a free Kickstarter exclusive Moonboy pin. Click the link in the description below and get your DM a Halloween gift, the gift of time and maps and sweet encounters. And now what you're here for. How the Rogue almost ended the campaign in only the 3rd session. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with another story. This story was submitted by our fans, the Furious 5.5. I love this story for the fact that the Rogue actually felt bad after doing rogue things. It's very refreshing that a rogue experienced guilt. Maybe I'm weird, but don't you agree? I'm not saying most people that play rogues are heartless thieves, but I play rogue and I'm a heartless thief. Tell us what you think after listening to how this rogue almost ended a campaign in the 3rd session. My husband and I are part of a D&D campaign with some close friends of ours. We had been doing a campaign together for about half a year before our DM requested to put a hold on the current campaign to try out a new one he had created for us, taking place in the same timeline as the current one. We all agreed, excited to try something new, and rolled new characters. Our first session of this new campaign started us on a ship heading to Chult, a notoriously dangerous island that offers challenges, adventures, and treasure to the curious souls traveling there. While on the ship, we were attacked by a crew of pirates. After a combat in which we killed the pirate captain, beheaded his first mate, and left only 3 prisoners, we gained 2 small pirate ships and recovered the treasure chest the pirates were trying to take from us. Obviously, this treasure chest piqued our curiosity, and we tried to see what was inside. But the captain of our ship stopped us and sternly asked that we return it to him. We did without a fight, but our curiosity did not settle. In a daunting interrogation with one of the pirate prisoners, our bard learned that one of the islands right next to our ship had a cave in which the former pirate captain had stored his treasure. Not one to pass up any amount of treasure, our bard made a plan to trick the captain using prestidigitation on the water supply to make it seem like it was undrinkable. He convinced the captain that the druid in our party would be able to find an herb on the nearby island that can purify the water. The captain was much appreciative of our helpfulness, unaware of our true intentions. We went to sleep for the night on the ship. My husband, the rogue, woke up in the middle of the night, and in typical rogue fashion, he stealthily made his way to the treasure room. He easily picked the first lock to enter the room, and just as easily he cracked open the safe bolted in the wall. What he found was gold pieces wrapped in paper and stored neatly. The payment that the passengers had made, which would be given to the crew upon reaching our destination. There was also the paperwork of the charter to the ship, and a ledger of how many passengers and crew were aboard, and how much each passenger had paid. On the side of this paper there was a note written that read, Aramog Tribute 160 GP. He failed his history check to try to recognize the name, but no matter, he decided to empty out 5 of the rolls of gold pieces, and place 2 coins back in the rolls, with an iron piton in between them, gaining 144 gold pieces. He didn't have any copper coins to replace the gold ones, which is why he chose to use the iron pitons. "Thank you for your tribute, Aramog," he said. Our DM stated that under closer inspection, they wouldn't pass, but under a brief look they would. The chest that the pirates had tried to steal also sat in the safe, but our rogue simply said, "I'll come back for you another night, sweetheart." Our rogue was very particular about placing everything neatly back where he had found it, zeroing out the combination lock and replacing the locks so as to not leave a trace of his presence. The next day, our party took the rowboat to the island, and with our ranger's help, we easily found the trail that led to the treasure cave, which was decorated with 3 lifelike stone statues in an arc around the front of the cave. "Can't say I'm a fan of the decor, but the trees are quite lovely," said our bard. We had already been informed by the pirate prisoner that the pirate captain and his first mate would enter the cave wearing blindfolds, so we had an idea of what might be in this cave. Our artificer came up with a genius idea to solve our sight problem. He decided to craft a couple of special helmets. These helmets used lenses from a telescope, hand mirrors, tinkered light sources, copper and brass tubes, and silk cloth handkerchiefs to take in an ambient light image. The lens collects and focuses light, and then bounces the light from the lens off the mirror, flipping and enlarging the image onto the silk cloth handkerchief, therefore creating a projected rather than reflected image. However, the quality of this image was very poor, and thus whoever wore them would have to play at a disadvantage. One of the helmets was tinkered into the artificer's helm, and another was built into an inverted bucket with a chin strap. There was a chance that a reflected image could also bounce the petrification magic. However, that may not have necessarily been the case in a projected image, so we believe that this type of vision would provide protection from the petrification. This concept was developed from the artificer player's catadioptric telescope and his hobby of photography enlarging equipment. Since one of these helmets was tinkered into the artificer's helm, he went first into the cave. The other helmet, fashioned from a bucket, was given to our rogue, a halfling, so he could look for traps. The rest of the party tied on blindfolds and followed behind into the cave. The rogue found a chain attached to the wall of the cave and figured that it was used to lead the pirate captain through the cave while being blindfolded. Following this chain led us to an opening. Neither the rogue nor the artificer could see anything in their limited vision, but we could all hear a terrifying creature slithering around. I'd like to note, our DM is incredibly talented at making impressive sound effects that send literal chills down our spines. Along with the noises of the beast, we heard chains rattling on the ground. The rogue found a wheel next to him at the opening of the room. A separate chain than the one that was guiding us was wrapped around this wheel. By throwing some light in the room, we learned that this new chain was also wrapped around a pulley in the back of the room and then attached to the creature. Our suspicions were correct. The creature guarding the treasure was a basilisk. By pulling on the chain, we were actually forcing the basilisk away from us. This is how the pirate captain and his first mate would get through the cave. My character, the barbarian, and the artificer pulled on this chain, while the rogue pulled out an iron piton to try to drive the chain to the wall to hold it into place. It didn't work as well as we would have liked, but it did its job for the moment. We rolled initiative to begin combat. I, as the barbarian, spent the entire combat holding the chain against the struggling basilisk. The bard, being blindfolded, couldn't even do anything. It was our ranger borrowing one of the helmets, who dealt most of the damage and ultimately killed the basilisk. Our DM stated later that he did not expect us to get into a combat with it, since the creature was chained up. After killing it, the artificer went forward to examine the basilisk and made a nature check. With a natural 20 roll, he learned a significant amount about the basilisk, including that it cannot petrify while being dead, and which parts are valuable for potions and profit. The druid rolled a natural 20 on her medicine check, and easily obtained the spongy organs from inside the throat, both eyes, and the venom gland. While the druid and the ranger were working on skinning and harvesting parts from the basilisk, the rest of the party examined the smaller back room of the cave. Loose sand covered the floor, so the rogue checked for traps. He discovered that the floor felt like a false door. The bard cast prestidigitation to cause a small breeze to move the sand, which revealed a trapdoor sealed with a lock. The rogue easily picked a lock. "You seem to have more skills than just shooting arrows," our bard noted, and requested to roll for an insight check. "Well, being a pawn shop owner, people often bring in stuff with missing keys," our rogue replied, rolling a deception check to contest the bard's insight check. "Valid," the bard responded. He did not win the contest. Under the trapdoor sat the treasure chest. From the treasure haul, we each gained 58 gold pieces, 155 silver, and 406 copper, as well as a few items of high value. Having emptied the chest, our rogue said that he wanted to keep it, and asked our druid if he could place it in her bag of holding, to which she agreed. We found a random but harmless and impressive-looking plant to take back to the ship as the purifying herb. Back on the ship, the captain and the crew were impressed with our skills, and blissfully unaware of our treasure excursion. That night on the ship, our rogue awakened, ready for his next business with fate. He took the bag of holding from under the bed where the druid was sleeping, and stealthily made his way to the treasure room, but this time he failed his first attempt at picking the lock. The DM told him that he could attempt it again in an hour, but it would cost him a point of exhaustion. The satisfaction of his curiosity was worth the risk, so he waited an hour to try again, and this time he was successful. Since he remembered the combination of the other lock, he managed to easily open the safe. With a nat 20 roll, he picked the third lock, the one on the treasure chest sitting inside the safe. It was completely full of gold. He carefully stuck his hand in to see if there were any items buried in the gold, but the DM informed him that all he felt was gold pieces. The rogue opened up the bag of holding and located his chest that he placed inside. He took about 40 gold pieces from the chest and placed them into his own. Once again, he was very particular about replacing every lock back as he had found it. Another successful heist for our rogue. In the next 5 days of travel at sea, nothing happened. We were then approaching our destination, sailing through a storm with choppy waters. Suddenly, we heard a rumbling from the ocean and a voice calling out in a language most of us don't understand. Translated, it said, "Little ship sailing on my sea, what treasures do you bring to me?" The captain called for the sailors to get the tribute for Aramag. A massive reptilian creature, a dragon turtle, rose from the ocean. The sailors presented the tribute chest to Aramag, but he was unsatisfied and cried for more. So the captain told his crew to go get more. The sailor returned with the paper rolls filled with gold. One paper roll had a tear in the middle, revealing an iron piton where gold should be.
"Treachery!" Aramog bellowed in Draconic. "You will die! Those who live will fear me!"
My husband's face dropped, all of its color drained, as he realized what he had done, fearing he had ended the entire campaign after only 3 sessions. He stated that his character the rogue probably had the same facial expression. The bard attempted an insight check on the rogue but failed, so although the player knew exactly what was going on, the bard was none the wiser. Aramog, deeply offended by the attempted ruse, loomed over the ship and spat boiling water onto the captain. The captain was essentially boiled to death, his skin melting off. Our DM informed us later that the captain had actually made his saving throw, so he took only half the damage. Still boiled alive. Another passenger, someone we had thought would be an important aspect to our adventure on the island of Chult, had hit Aramog with 4 arrows, which angered the dragon turtle. Needless to say, this other character did not make it. We rolled initiative. Luckily, our draconic-speaking ranger went first. She ran toward the creature, opening up her own pouch, and yelled "more" while offering her own gold. The rest of us did the same, offering our own gold to satisfy Aramog and save our lives. He approved, took our gold, and left. Saddened by the loss of the captain and the other passenger, the crew returned to their post to continue the voyage toward Chult. Our druid gathered some canvas, wrapped up what little remained of the captain, and we gave him an ocean burial. Nothing remained of the other passenger that met his fate with Aramog, except for his saber. After the session, our DM informed us that he was terrified for us, since we were not supposed to get into combat with the dragon turtle. My husband profusely apologized, having been unaware that his actions would lead to such a terrifying consequence. He had meant to replace the iron pitons with his newly acquired copper coins during his last heist, but had forgotten about that plan until it was too late. The DM said that if he were to have exchanged the pitons for copper, then the captain and the passenger would probably still be alive. I'd also like to note, serious props to the DM for not metagaming, but allowing the events to play out. A couple of the players were not present that night, the bard's girlfriend and the druid's husband, so their characters were played by their respective significant others. We all discussed the intense story that would have to be told the next time we get together for a session. And that's the story of how a rogue nearly ended a campaign in just the 3rd session. Now me, I only feel bad after I steal from orphans. Just kidding, who steals from orphans? You use those little guys as bait. But in all seriousness, this is great, and I love that the rogue genuinely felt bad that he'd almost gotten everyone killed, and my hat's off to the DM for letting it play out the way it did. He could have fudged a roll and made the gold unstealable. Great stuff. Thanks again, Furious5.5. Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our videos are posted every Tuesday and Friday, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.